really
Call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, Happy New Year, everybody, and good evening. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes for our November 16th, 2021 regular session meeting. Is there a motion to approve as presented? Motion been made by Mrs. Noyes Miller, seconded by Mr. Haggerty. Any discussion? Edits? Mrs. Randall?
On superintendent's report, motion fiscal year 2235. I'm a Mrs. and not a Mr., so.
Gotcha. Anyone else have the wrong pronoun?
What's your pronoun?
Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion as amended, will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions for the record? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously. We'll move to our financial report. It's going to take a little getting used to this, but I'll turn to my left side this time instead of my right.
I decided I wanted to stay at the right hand of the Prince of Wales. Pat and I have been working well together for years, so it was really more about that.
Steve, your maiden financial report. The floor is yours.
All right. Not very exciting, which is a good thing. So right now, our expenditures as of December 31st continue to be in line with previous years at about 42%. Our encumbered amount is about 53%. As of next Monday is the 90th school day. So we're hitting that target right at about half year. So we're doing well there. And then revenues continue to come in as expected. Again, right about halfway through the school year. We're at 46%. So we're moving forward. Nothing very exciting in the financial statements, as well as the revenues and the grants. They're all coming in, as you know. ESSER 1, ESSER 2, ESSER 3 continues to come in. We will expend our ESSER 1, ESSER 2, continue to look for opportunities with our ESSER 3 grants. Anxiously awaiting the governor's budget as it comes in at the end of the month, and working on budget season for our next year. So I believe we're meeting a Saturday coming up, so that'll be exciting.
Any questions for Steve? Nice job.
It's Saturday, but not this Saturday.
Right, a week from
Oh,
Saturday.
we can Saturday. Okay, I'll be here by
Thought I
myself.
double booked myself.
You can come early if you want to get a good seat.
No. I'm busy this week.
All right, we'll move to staff reports. Mr. Sturgis, since the room wasn't set up properly, we'll let you go first.
Our custodians are short men and still taking down half of a cafeteria so
They're
they can
doing
play
great work.
basketball.
I saw a few of your custodians when I was in here for meetings last week, and I complimented them on
Those
the
guys, that whole crew, when this thing's all said and done, we tip our caps to everybody, but those guys are killing themselves right now in this last 3 weeks for sure. Sorry, I forgot I'm in this thing again, so I can't even hear myself. Just a couple of things to highlight. I mean, I put a couple of things that were in the November one, or the one that would have been in December as well, just because there's things I didn't want to miss. We had back to Thanksgiving and also at Christmas time where we were able to provide over 30 families in our community with a box meal. Fortunately, at Christmas time was more than just a meal. It was a lot of canned goods and things that could last for longer than just one meal. As well as we were able, once again, thanks to donations from people, provide over 30 kids in our school with Tantasqua gear that went home to their families, so their family can give it to their kids as Christmas presents, not from us. So, and it's very non-distinct Tantasqua gear, so all the kids around have it, so no one will know that those are the sweatshirts or shirts that went out to kids that need them. So it was great to see. Parents are extremely appreciative at this time of year. Some in tears when they come in. I did include, we had our new Pathways classroom teacher who was a long-term sub, took on the Toys for Tots program. It was designed to be more for the kids, to get the Pathways kids out and about, mixing and mingling with the school. They've been active this year, that group of kids. It's been awesome to see them out delivering mail and being active in our school community. But this Toys for Tots thing went from this small idea to we provided enough Christmases for up to 42 families that went over to Burgess Elementary School. And so there was, I shared a picture, but there's, maybe it's not in this one, but there's pictures of the Toys for Tots in the gym at Burgess, just covering the entire gym of how many families were provided by the community, which was just another great additional thing. As you know, we've had the Sandy Hook Promise Club, the Save Promise Club in our school for a couple years now through the Sandy Hook Attorney General's grant. And our student council subcommittee, the SAVE committee, they just are endless things going on through their small little group, just more around equity and just trying to build a community of acceptance. But one thing that we did was a Sandy Hook presentation. The high school did it as well. I'm not sure if it was the exact same presentation, but I'm assuming it probably was. And it was just about, for kids, from an outside presenter, it was on Zoom, unfortunately. It would have been better in person. But it went very well, and it was just about helping kids recognize the signs of suicide, and maybe not that, there were some dark parts, but it wasn't that like, down in the dumps negative presentation. It was a good spin on how to identify kids at risk and how, like, as a peer, not as an adult, and help your friends through what I'll say is one of the toughest times for a kid's mental health in general. Maybe not to the extreme all the time, but kids' mental health is a legitimate problem right now, not just our schools and kids. So it was a great presentation that they put on for the kids to just build some skills on who their resources are in the building when they should access them. Because again, we assume, I should say, I'll speak for myself, I assume as 12, 13-year-olds they know this stuff, and then they really don't when they get in critical moments, so it's good for us to just at least keep it going with different activities like that. And then I guess just finally, we've been back to in-person things. Basketball's up and running. We have had 3 home games at this point, which having a home game is chaos to try to get the gym/cafeteria taken down. But again, the custodians, as part of my presentation, they've been amazing at just keeping this place clean in general, and then add in all these extras. We have the play practice and the outside meetings and things coming back in person. So these guys are moving always. So kudos to that crew. Anyone have any questions?
Questions for Mr. Sturgis? Ms. Joseph?
Hi, so we missed each other in December, so just to add on that, we also did the Sandy Hook Promise. Again, similar presentation, if not the same. We coincided on the same day, as many of our kids will go home to the same families, and we thought that that was important to coordinate that between the high school and the junior high. A lot of activities taking place at the high school. We had our fall play, which really was in December this year, the Brothers Grimm Spectaculathon, which was very good, and our kids are happy to be back there doing that. They have picked their spring musical, which is Mamma Mia, so they're looking forward to that. We had our winter concert, as well as began winter sports. So for our winter, we also, with regard to music, our choral and our band students auditioned for the Mass Music Educators Association District Choral and Band Ensembles, and we were able to have 7 students selected for the choral ensemble and 1 for band, which is outstanding. With regard to winter sports, we are well underway. Our girls basketball team, if you have not caught them, they're doing outstanding, although they had a tough game last night. But they're doing a great job. Unfortunately, the Swickle League has voted that there are no, it's only parental fans allowed at this point, since we've come back from winter break, and we're re-examining that on a weekly basis. So that is a bit of a disappointment for our student fans. With regard to other student activities, Student Council and NHS have been very active for our community. Not only did we have the Thanksgiving food drive, as you know, but we had the toy drive as well throughout the school. And our NHS students also volunteered time at Quabog Nursing Home, Quabog on the Common, to wrap gifts for them that they give to their families. In addition, there was our Project 351 students also had a food drive, to which they donated 1,600 pounds of food toward the Wales and the Brookfield Pantry, which was outstanding. So they've had a lot of community service opportunities there. College and career readiness has taken place, where we had one of our last college presentations to our seniors, which was their financial aid night. And then we had a week-long celebration prior to leaving for winter break, where we celebrated students with regard to the choices that they have ahead of them, celebrating the names of the colleges that they've applied to and been accepted to, the names of the military branches that they've reached out to be recruited, and some of their career choices that they've made aware to us. We had finished the week off with a mascot challenge at the end of the week, where we had college mascots versus military versus people in employment positions all competing. So that was fun, and that was a new activity and event for us. So we've had a lot of great things going on there, and you can see some project-based learning events inside the month that we have before you as well.
Questions for Ms. Joseph? Thank you both.
Mr. Woods has been otherwise detained, so if there are any questions for him, I could pass them on to next month.
And my student is at student council. We have Anna here for tech.
Well, that brings us to committee reports, and Anna, you're flying solo, so take it away.
Thank you, guys. So Allied Health has started, all students and all the grades have started to focus on Skills USA with many categories to compete in. They've honed in on medical terms, CPR, things like that. Their sophomores are beginning to finish the 10-hour OSHA and general industry, get those cards, while the seniors are going back to clinical at Quabog on the Commons starting Monday the 24th, and they will continue to go Monday, Wednesday, and Friday through rotations. In carpentry, students continue working on a double garage in Sturbridge, as well creating sheds throughout East Brookfield. And CAD has entered a 2021 winter design competition, creating a product to alleviate problems caused by snow and ice. I thought that they'd have a great advantage considering that we've seen a lot of it right now. Electrical juniors are creating blueprints of small ranch houses, completing with all the wiring needed, lighting, outlets, etc., being able to kind of customize it on their own too. So their seniors in electrical helped install televisions at the Sturbridge Police Department, while also helping Brimfield Elementary with new fiber optic cables to help the service and computer speed there. It's been a little slow. Machine shop has been layering different materials with epoxy and creating new patterns with that, seeing how that works out for them throughout different machines. Business tech is focusing on the store, while they are seeing a lot of purchases online throughout a lot of the COVID cases, a lot of going on. In the classroom, they have looked at personal finance, which is amazing for students in high school, getting in college. I mean, looking at financial aid, but jobs that they're having, saving money, things like that. They can start learning how to apply it as a young adult. In hospitality, students have continued in the school restaurant, the Cornerstone Cafe, serving staff at dine-in tables and providing to-go service directly to the rooms, also with pickup. Culinary students are still continuing to receive new equipment in the kitchen. They are still running the back of the house, focusing on updating the menu every week with in-season recipes. The most recent menu was flatbreads, which was one of my favorites. We had a lot of pizza dough, fun with that. Culinary has also entered in the MRE challenge. They are going to compete at the Army National Guard using RTE, ready-to-eat foods. That's going to be really interesting, making foods that are kind of people don't want to eat, kind of making them into something that looks really, really good. They've also entered the Pro Start Challenge. That's going to be held at Gillette Stadium. The seniors in culinary are beginning finals with menu creation, one entree and one dessert that will be edited throughout teachers in the school, so they will get direct feedback and understand how creativity can connect with their cooking. IT continues to take on various obstacles throughout the school, tickets, things like that. And Skills USA has continued to connect to students and truly hone in on preparing them for the upcoming competition in March. By working through the framework and revisiting our basic OSHA topics that were hopefully covered in the 10-hour general industry, but there were some gaps with COVID and whatnot. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Anna? All right, that brings us to curriculum. Mrs. Barnacle.
Yes, we had a curriculum meeting on Monday, January 10th. probably the coldest day that we've had so far.
Today was.
It was even cold in here. Ugh. But anyway, we had two topics on our agenda. One was a presentation by people from the junior high, including Mr. Sturgis, on the junior high math pilot that has been going on. And I'm gonna let Jody maybe tell you a few words about that, since you've been so involved with it.
So we started looking at curriculum last year because the 7th grade was out of its subscription and the 8th grade was out of the subscription the year previous. So we're looking at two curriculum materials or resources, one called EdGems and the other called Into Math. Into Math is the Go Math successor because Go Math is actually going away. So, yes.
Go Math.
No, it's really being, it's retired. Like, it's truly going away. Not because we want it to, but, so we had some teachers who have been piloting the resources both at 7th and 8th grade level come and speak to the subcommittee to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of what they like, dislike. The committee saw a survey. We're definitely favoring EdGems versus Into Math strongly. It's like unanimous. So there's really no dispute over it whatsoever. We spoke to the teachers who participated with us in the presentation to the subcommittee. They'd come to the fuller committee, the full committee later on, and do a presentation once the materials are purchased. I asked for their blessing to move forward to talk to the reps, which I have not done yet and will, to be able to move forward as to when and once we have the budget approval, be able to move forward even more expeditiously so teachers have the materials over the summer.
Thanks. And the second thing on our agenda was to talk a little bit about the mission statement for the district and strategic planning in general. And with the mission statement, everyone I think agreed that it would be good to bring other people into looking at the mission statement currently and updating it, refreshing it, and making it something that is meaningful to Tantasqua at this point. So we were then going to include young people from the high school, junior high school, and even elementary school, and then parents and community as well. So we're going to go forward with that at our next meeting.
Thank you, Mrs.
That's
Bonico. Mr. Haggard, any question?
Yeah, just a question on the math curriculum. Could you give us maybe, since a lot of us weren't able to attend that meeting, can you tell what some of the strengths of that particular program are that may made it unanimously be recommended?
Yeah, it's a good question. So EdGems is strictly a middle school model program resource. It starts in the 6th grade. It's a 3-course series, or course 1, 2, and 3. It is text-based driven, meaning students will learn how to truly study and prepare for math exams, anything teachers are through a text book versus a workbook that is pretty much drives Into Math and Go Math that students write in a book. So it's almost going back to the traditional way of teaching math where parents have a resource to actually help their children versus maybe have to look things up online. You know, the programs itself offer a lot of the same components. There's differentiation, there's writing, there's challenge. It's the presentation primarily that the teachers, students, and now subcommittee are all, and subcommittee actually saw a book. So we won't have those consumable costs every year that we've had previously, unless we have to replace books.
I think that's good because frequently I hear from parents,
They don't know how to help.
I have no clue, what do I do?
Yes, so, you know, I could speak to delivery of content. The delivery of content in EdGems was more explicitly taught and more practice problems than in Into Math. So a lot of comfort with that, especially with students coming up with some gaps that we may not have faced in a while. And let's be honest, it was just more simply produced,
Yeah.
designed, and that sometimes simple is okay,
Thank you.
And Bill, Jody did give us a survey
Yes.
Uh-huh.
with a lot of different questions, probably some of which you have as well. So maybe you would be willing to send that survey out
To the
to Bill
library?
and anyone
Yeah, sure.
else who
Be
wants.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And part of this round of pilot, we did include sixth grade teachers, because the
Yes.
product is a sixth, seventh, eighth product.
Yeah.
The elementary schools still have another year of Go Math that they paid for. So sixth grade's gonna kind of be ripe and ready to get on board with the same product as seventh and eighth. And we'll need to be looking at what K through 5 does. That'll be a next year pilot and search, but they'll all be on Go Math one more year anyway.
And we know it's successful with science. We have 2 different programs in science. So we know that students are looking for, and we did survey students, and their remarks were very similar to what the teachers felt. They're looking to be challenged a little bit more, or thought of in a less elementary way, in a more adolescent manner. So, and then we had Tracy Carboni from the high school come down as well to share her sentiments, because although it doesn't really align with the pre-algebra, algebra track, it is getting closer to what high school would expect from the students coming in with a text-based kind of material. What I mean is textbook-based, everything is text-based
Yeah.
today, but
Yeah.
textbook-based,
Thank you. Jen?
Are there any resources that you will be using online, like we do with Go Math?
Yeah.
Even though I appreciate the fact that you're not doing, that doesn't sound right. Because the books were cumbersome, and I found that they came home a lot in elementary empty. So it's a good idea, but are they offering any kind of resources online for us to use?
So, yeah, Khan Academy and all that will be great resources, but what's great about EdGems, it does link with iExcel, which is a practice-based online software of no cost. So it's already embedded in the program, so that'll be an added piece that teachers can use. And EdGems is completely platform-based as well. It's its own platform. So if the kids don't come home with the textbook, everything is online.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so
Great.
there's 2 forms right within our resources.
Thank you.
Yep.
Other questions for curriculum subcommittee? All right, we will hold on bylaw and policy until new business, as the bulk of that report will be covered there. That brings us to building and physical plant. Mrs. Leo?
I did leave my notes at home, I apologize for that. We did vote on chair, which I was voted in against, so that's at least one thing I remembered. We went over. We
That's
reviewed-
good, that's a good start.
It was December 3rd, it's been a while.
Yeah.
We went over kind of the basics of the buildings, and then as well the budget pieces, and we're looking more towards, we had a couple of budget recommendations. Those will be going to the finance meeting on the 28th? 29th.
Yeah,
Not
the-
this
the,
weekend. And I'll get my notes to Deb this week.
They reviewed the capital plan it is the same plan that will go to budget subcommittee. In the past, sometimes we've done 2. We've asked them to join our Saturday meeting. Here, this year, building and physical plant hadn't met yet, so it was a good opportunity to have a standalone meeting, and they reviewed what will move on to budget.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to communications. First couple of items were circulated to you all electronically back in November prior to Thanksgiving. Next item, which we also circulated, and of course you probably saw in the news, is the DESE mask update through February 28th, 2022. In addition to that, included in here is the DESE COVID protocols. And again, we continue to be in complete compliance. And then the final item under communications, if you recall, this committee directed Dr. Nozick and I to look into the old Sturbridge Academy charter school application and to evaluate effectively what our options were as a district in response to that application. I think as we reported to all of you in November, Dr. Nozick's original review identified a fair number of what we deem to be inaccurate representations of the offerings that the Tantasqua and Union 61 district have. And so we did consult with legal counsel per your direction. We did have a pretty detailed conversation with Kevin Bresnahan, who had been filling in for Sarah, our legal representative. And Kevin's response to us was really, the next step for you would be to respond in writing to the Board of Education, outlining your concerns / where you believe there to be inaccuracies. And so, although we didn't meet in December, Dr. Nozick and I felt pretty confidently that your direction included our ability to submit a letter on behalf of the district, and that is included in your packet. You'll see that letter. And that, again, represents what Dr. Nozick and I believe to be a number of misrepresentations in the application in terms of what our offerings are. I'll tell you that I did proactively hear from the Union 61 Teachers Association President, Carrie Glanville. I know she had proactively been reaching out on behalf of members throughout the Union 61 Teachers District. I did share this communication with her. She was very grateful and very positive about the fact that this had been submitted, so I also shared with her that I was grateful to hear from her and that she was proactively engaged on the same topic. So we had a good exchange, and there was a good communication there. So that's the update here on the letter. The submission deadline did close January 6th.
Yeah, the Friday.
Friday.
The 7th, I believe that was.
7th.
The 7th, yeah.
And so at this point, we'll wait and see.
Mike,
Mr. Haggerty?
do you have any idea when they were going to be deliberating and making binding decisions, a timeline, a rough one?
Well, so the decision, I think, has to be rendered by April-ish,
Well,
but I don't know what the meeting schedule is or what the timeline looks like. Our legal counsel did say that, we can monitor what's posted and we can reach out to DESE for some more information on that potential timeline, but nothing that we've seen yet in terms of what it looks like.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, that brings us to another maiden update. Superintendent Boyd's report.
Happy New Year. Yeah, I mean, some of these communications are old news at this point in time. We've been living with them the first week of January. A lot came out. The first weekend of January was quite eventful, with rapid tests being handed out and delivered here on New Year's Day and then handed out on the 2nd. So it was a fairly chaotic few days. We did our best. I got to say, and I won't stop saying, how awesome our staff is doing. Every single morning, the principals get the chessboard out and figure out what they have to do to move people around, and staff and subs or classroom assistants to keep plugging the holes and keeping us going. And they've done a fantastic job. Staff has been beyond flexible, and I think once again, we see what's on the news, and we sit here and are very thankful and grateful that we are in a number of ways in better shape, and we're still getting it done. So, I thank everyone, and hopefully that little light at the end of the tunnel in a couple of weeks will start getting bigger. And I like to believe what we see on the news and say, okay, a couple weeks, and then I remind myself I've had that feeling before in the last 2 years, so I don't know how much to hold on to it. But it's been a trip, but I'm just so pleased with everything that we're doing in the district. We did have a full PD day on Friday, which was a blend of some know thyself and to know thy child, know thy student presentation with John Perricone that was received very well. We absolutely, did yet another pivot. 4 days before, do we need to make it virtual? 2 days before, yeah, absolutely. So we had some in person, I'd say more watching the live stream, and John Perricone told us, I'll sit here in an empty auditorium and speak, or I'll speak to 5, or I'll speak to, I think in the morning. He did the session twice, so we divided it out. And then on the flip side, everyone had building-based activities going on. We had, in the morning, I think 75 folks for him to actually look at and engage with, and other folks who were watching felt more comfortable watching from their classroom or some in a cafeteria in their buildings, and we got feedback that even those, he definitely was able, just so impressive that he could hold attention for 2 to 3 hours in the remote setting. So I think it was good to, it was a good opportunity. He's done, he's, staff really respond to him, so we may get to use him again. He's got a number of other offerings. So I think all went well that day, as well as it could be expected. Once again, I look forward to the hearty, full PD days when we don't have to worry about distancing and what we can or can't offer. We do have, while Desi has pretty much every 2 days given us new updates, we have one new one coming. So you are the first to hear as we're trying to fill out surveys, etc. I did not get to the TV today, so I don't know if the news, indeed, if Governor Baker announced the latest testing option, which I do think is gonna be a good thing. We just need a week or two to roll out the latest testing option, and we've heard from one Board of Health agent who is completely in support of, just waiting to hear the other. But the latest is going to be the sunsetting of contact tracing and test to stay. And all of the data shows very few, if any, in our district did we test someone for 5 days and have them come up positive. That all of those tests are, remember, our nurses have been doing that. They've been doing the contact tracing. They've been doing the pool testing that we've been doing right away. I was unaware. I was just like, really? When I found that some of my peer districts had not been pool testing, I was like, we're all in. So the latest option that I do believe we're going to enter into is to sunset contact tracing and pool and test to stay. We will keep pool testing. We will keep symptomatic testing. Someone comes down in the middle of the day, and we will be given the opportunity to give every staff member and student who opts in an at-home test to take once a week. So they're going to be shipping large volumes of tests that we're going to be able to hand out to staff who opt in and to students who opt in. We'll give them a box every 2 weeks so they can take weekly tests. So we think, A, that's awesome. Everyone has been desperate to have some at-home tests. B, it will allow our nurses to concentrate where they should be concentrating. There's so many things in the health office, just standard protocols, they have not gotten to. They have been so busy with the test and stays. The pool testing is running pretty steady at this point in time, so that's not where their time is being taken. So more details to come. That was 8:30 this morning. 6 o'clock last night, yes, last night, we like to do things on holidays. We received the email that the commissioner was having an 8:30 a.m. call. So it's pretty hot off the press. We just needed to, within the next 2 days, fill out a survey to say, yes, we're in. And then we'll get more communications, template letters, and more details. I did want to make sure with our Board of Health agents that they supported it. And as I said, I've heard from one, so I'm sure we're going to be good and there'll be more details coming. So that's it this week, and we're only on Tuesday. I see everyone has their packet, yes? I was going to ask, because we've had some really bad months of some of you getting your packet a week after the meeting, and I was ready to say, do you want me to not mail them and just bring you hard copies? We're always going to scan. We're doing that now. We're going to keep that going. But it looks like this was a good week.
It was, even for Brimfield.
Yeah.
The last one I got a month, it was a month before I got that too.
I will not tell the one of you that I met out in the parking lot a week after the meeting that thought the meeting was that. Thank you, Eli. I was walking out the door to go to a Brimfield meeting, and Eli was driving in and saying, hey, am I late? Am I early? I was like, well, you're a week late. Because he had just gotten the packet like the day before. So if we're running, then let's just kind of keep it going and see what the next 2 months go like. But at any point in time, if anyone wants us to pivot and just be printing out hard copies, I'm happy to do it. and
Mine
bring
did
them.
arrive today.
Okay, today.
Yeah, today.
Yeah.
So it's not awesome, because I'm sure
They get to Wales faster than Sturbridge.
I got mine last week.
it's so strange. I can't say for sure we mailed them on Tuesday, but Wednesday would have been the latest.
This is
You
the
know, we're
first one
before.
that I actually received in the last, I think, a year before the meeting, at least a
Okay.
year.
Well, as always, we'll keep mailing them until the majority of you aren't getting them in time, and then we're killing too many trees, but, on postage. If you don't get them, just shoot me an email that morning, and I'll be happy to make sure we have some copies.
Any other questions for Mrs. Boyd? Mrs. Kane?
Ms. Boyd, just on the testing, do you know if DESI is still going to require unvaccinated
Nope.
students to quarantine?
Yes, I know. The quarantining is separate, yes.
For close contacts?
The new program will be, kits will be given out whether they're vaccinated or unvaccinated. So that's awesome.
Great.
The protocols that are in here do still hold, and we haven't gotten anything new on that. Yeah.
Is there a question over here, Mr. Haggerty?
No, I have more a comment. I'm hoping that the DESI is a little more accurate in terms of their numbers of tests that they're shipping to districts.
Exactly, because we're not breaking these boxes apart, which is,
Well, that was fun.
it was, yeah. we
It
had
was
to-
unfortunate that the press releases indicated that everyone was getting 2 tests.
Right.
And then, when some of the teachers
Yep.
drove up that day, we had to hand them,
Yeah.
tell them, you only got one in the
Well,
box."
I mean, and it's strange, because how that all went down, we were notified on the 29th that on the 31st, we could pick up these tests and hand a box out to everyone. My gut immediately said, don't send anything, don't send a single communication out until you have hands-on. I knew that, but the TV got it. So once it was on the news, we made the plans, we confirmed, we lined everything up with all the principals and said, okay, on New Year's Day, we're gonna get, no, it was the day before, New Year's Eve, we're gonna distribute them to the schools. And then on Sunday, we set up these plans to send out, thinking New Year's Day, everyone would be able to relax. And again, within about a half an hour of when we put all those plans in place and notified everyone, we got the message that said, oops, so they're not gonna be here on the 30th. And we won't get the quantity that we thought we would. So we had to pick them up on January 1st, and we had to break every box into 2. Including making copies for the directions, because you don't get 2 of those in a box. Yeah.
Do you have a lot of facilities come and get them?
Yeah, I would say we probably had about 40%, district-wide, we had about 40% of staff come on that January 2nd. And then a majority of them were happy to take the test, and we made sure the test was available. They didn't have to take it. Some of them chose to come in Monday morning and actually administer the test to themselves. A number of them just said, thank you very much, I'm gonna put that in my back pocket and have in case I need it in the next week or so. So
We did curbside pickup at the junior high.
Yep.
Lee, I heard you did it at the high school.
It was cold, right?
It was kind of rainy and drizzly too.
Any other questions for Mrs. Boyd? All right, we have no unfinished business. We'll move to new business. The bulk, well, all of new business relates to bylaw and policy. Mrs. Fitzgerald is not here, so Jody and I are we're gonna tag team this. So we've got a number of amendments on first reading. You'll see the amendments are fairly straightforward, and I'll let Jody speak to each of those quickly. And then we have a couple of rescinds and then a couple of reviewed. So we'll start with the first IHAM-1, parental notification relative to sex ed.
The amendments here just are cleanup based on purview of the subcommittee, language not necessary.
Bring that to the floor for discussion. It's a recommendation, doesn't require a second. Is there any discussion? Is there any objection? Seeing none, on unanimous consent, we'll amend on first reading. Brings us to IHBF, homebound instruction.
Similarly, we actually had the principal as the coordinator versus the special ed director. So there's a process here for homebound instruction. Everything goes through the principal first and then through the special ed director, which for eligible students. So we just put that in for clarity with process.
Bring that to the floor. It's a recommendation. Doesn't require a second discussion. Mrs. Leo?
Is this for students specifically on IEPs or any homebound?
Any homebound could be on
Any
this, yeah.
homebound. Okay, because within the IEP, it's 10 days out of their
Yep.
instructional environment, right? So this is outside the IEP time?
Yep.
Okay, I just wanted to, thank you.
Further discussion? Any objection? Unanimous consent, amended on first reading. IJ,
Again, language the subcommittee wishes not to have in the policy doesn't apply to what's needed in this policy.
bring that to the floor for consideration. Is there any discussion? Is there any objection? Seeing no objection, approved, amended on first reading. Brings us to IJL, library materials selection, adoption, and withdrawal.
So what's being omitted is what is naturally done for library materials, and the subcommittee felt as though the continuous review happens on an annual basis anyway, not necessary to have it.
Bring that to the floor for consideration. Recommendation of the subcommittee. Discussion. Objection. Seeing none, amended on first reading. Brings us to field trips, IJOA.
Subcommittee wishes not to have the first line in there. We added the school committee just to start off, so there was clarity. Other than that, self-explanatory. This will come up. We are looking at overnight trips next, so this may come up again in further discussion.
Bring that to the floor. Recommendation of the subcommittee. Discussion. Objection. Amended on first reading. JB, equal education opportunities.
So you notice this is actually out of order because there is a coordinated program review happening right now. And in order for this policy to be acceptable with that coordinated program review, we needed to scratch the physical and intellectual differences and just have the word disability.
Bring that to the floor. Discussion. Objections. Amended on first reading. Brings us to IJJ, request to rescind on first reading.
For both of these, the next two, there is no MASC policy, and with textbook selection, we have a curriculum review cycle, and we have an annual review in the library. It's not necessary.
All right, we'll bring both IJJ and IJOB to the floor for consideration. Recommendation of the subcommittee. Is there any discussion? Objections? By unanimous consent, both rescinded on first reading. Following two policies, health education and social networking, both reviewed. No recommended changes at this time. We did all right.
We did all right.
Public access.
The meeting date for the OFA expansion decision is February 15th. That's when Bessie meets. The TEA did undertake similar efforts like Union 61. We had a TEA-sponsored informational website with some talking points and encouraged our members to also submit public comment, similar in the nature of the district.
Thank you. Brings us to open forum. Mrs. Custance.
I just have a quick question, and we might have discussed this and I don't know. Is there no school or half a day on Thursday and Friday this week?
High school.
High school, is that like all the teachers, extra ones that were discussed?
No, the teachers work full days. That is always been, it's their semester change. So it's to give the kids the proper, to spread out their finals over the 2 days.
Okay,
They take their finals, they leave, staff stays.
okay. And is that anywhere like online so you can take a look, or does that show us anywhere?
The high school
It's
calendar
on the
should say.
high school calendar. I did send it home in the Connect Ed over the last two Connect Eds that went home over the course of the past 2 weeks. This week I did outline the schedule completely. with regard to that, and it is posted on the sign out there. But we do have, to close each semester, we have 2 half-days, so they're not taking 4 exams in one day. We spread them out over 2 days. The teachers stay for the full day. They are grading those exams during that time, and at this time, in the semester break time, we are also working on the transition to semester 2. And so teachers are also doing some prepping for semester 2, and counselors are looking at grades and student schedules for semester 2.
Thank you. Sorry, I must have missed it.
All right.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak during open forum, committee members? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion's been made by Mrs. Noyes Miller, seconded by Mr. Goodwin. All those in favor of adjournment will say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Have a great rest of the January budget committee. We'll see you in a couple weeks.